hang up and try again.
All right, today we've got a Performa 600 system board. We're going to recap it. It doesn't look too bad, but I can definitely see that the capacitors are leaking. We've also got Lain. Lain's here helping. Hi, Lain.
So I got a few things that we can work with today. I got this stuff to study. I got papers to study right here. I know it looks like a turkey because it's Thanksgiving. This is my telescope so we can see it up close. These are 2 cubing blocks to test how strong it is. So we are going to get started.
All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is use some flux. And I'm going to flux these existing capacitors. There's 6 SMD caps on here. They're all 47 microfarad, 16 volts. Pretty common for Macs of this vintage. I've just got a whole roll of those particular capacitors. There shouldn't be too much work to get these swapped out. And actually a Performa 600 is, I think, the first machine I ever recapped. Not this one, obviously, but a same model as this one.
Here's the thing you're using there. Is this helpful?
Of course, anything you do is helpful.
So what are you gluing?
Not gluing, it's flux. It helps the solder flow. All right, and then I'm just going to take my soldering iron and see if I can heat those up. Like I said, they don't look like they're in terrible shape, especially these ones.
Here's the stuff flowing through, Dad.
It's the flux, especially these ones on the top, but these ones over here look like they might have had some problems at some point with leaking electrolytic compound. So they might be a little harder to get off, and yeah, the soldering iron touches it and it smells like dead fish. That's a giveaway that they have in fact leaked. So what I'm going to do is use some of this super wick.
To make it smell better?
No, that's how you know they leaked. When you get them hot, they smell like dead fish.
How do you make it smell better?
You replace the capacitors that are bad. So I'm going to try some of the super wick. In a previous video I mentioned that I like the twist method, but when they're in fairly decent shape, the twist method is a little harder to work without damaging the pads underneath. It certainly can be lifted by that method, so I'm first going to try to just pull the solder off using solder wick. I'm going to put a little bit more on first. Use my tiny little solder for this.
Does that look like your hand holding it?
It does look like my hand holding it.
And then here's the stuff you squeezed in.
I'm just going to melt that on there. Maybe I'll put a little more flux on. There we go. I think I saw the whole thing move.
Here you go, Dad.
Yeah, well, that side is probably going to come off then. And once you get one side free, it's important not to just yank it, because you will rip the pad off the other side. Well, I see that maybe I am not quite getting this one. All right, that side's definitely free. So we can't get this side freed up as well. This is a little tricky because there's plastic all around. You don't want to really melt the plastic while you're doing this kind of work, because it's going to defeat the purpose of fixing the board if you can't plug power into it or you can't plug a hard drive into it. All right. So I got one side completely free, and there we go. So no damage to the pads. That's a good desolder. I'll put that up here. And we'll start on the next one. I think I'm going to abandon the solder wick. It didn't seem like it was doing a ton. Might get back to it. And again, this one has that ever-present dead fish smell. So I'm just going to desolder one side at a time, wiggle it back and forth as they're loose to hopefully free it up and get far enough off the solder that it's not making a connection. But again, being patient and not getting too much movement at once, because that will rip the pad off the other side. I think we got this one just about. I'd say when desoldering, patience is certainly key. Don't want to rush anything, don't want to force anything. Lots of flux helps too. Probably stand a little bit more here, but all right, so that side's free and that side's free. And 2 more pads in excellent shape. I did nick the SCSI connector a bit with the soldering iron like I'd warned against, but it's just on the outside, so, well, a cosmetic blemish, no harm, no foul. Unfortunate, but it happens sometimes. All right, so we got those 2 off. I'll work on these other 4 up here. I'll untwist my soldering iron a little bit.
Dad, you want to learn how to draw?
Maybe later, sweetie. Right now I'm busy taking these stinky fish capacitors off this motherboard.
I'll teach you how to draw a barn door.
So this one seems like it is not going anywhere. So I'll hit it with some more flux, and I'll hit it with some solder. See if we can't get some new solder to take and mix in with this old crusty fish solder. It's not really going. It's unfortunate. So this might be a capacitor where, oh, it looks like we actually got it. I'll try the other side. I was going to say it looks like this might be a capacitor where the twist method might work, but I'm not sure we're going to have to do that. I think we might be okay. And again, you know, if you do ever rip a pad off, it's typically not the end of the world. You can usually find a via to connect the bad pad to. Not always, but you know, Apple wasn't great at releasing schematics for these things, so it can be a little tricky. You have to do it visually, and they're all multi-layer boards. That makes things a little harder.
What is the problem with it?
With what? This computer?
Yeah.
Not really a problem. It works okay. It's just that it's got leaky capacitors, and eventually, if they're not replaced, they'll eat into the board and cause the computer to be inoperable and maybe irreparable.
Here's the flow.
Alright, so I think we got that one pretty clean, so we can heat up these pads a little more and get it off. Very gingerly, hopefully. Alright, we got that side up, I think.
The flow's trying to go through, but it's blocked. That's what I know so far.
The flow of solder?
See, look.
Oh yeah?
We want it to flow through. This is what we want.
There we go. That one's off, and we've got 2 good pads there.
How many are wrong? How many do you need to fix?
There are 6 leaky capacitors on this board. Some people also fix these axials down here at the same time. If you can see those. There's 2 axials down here. They're much less likely to fail.
How much have you fixed?
So far I've taken 3 off.
Okay.
So I don't have any of these in stock. I don't think 220 microfarad 16 volt. I actually might have some of those, but I'm just going to leave them because they're not going to cause any immediate damage to this board in their current state. So it's just these ones we need to worry about. And yes, it is important to get them off because, like I mentioned, if they do leak, they can destroy traces. They can make future repairs of this board much more difficult. And I guess not only difficult, but necessary. So we'll see if we can suck up this solder here. And we'll try on this side.
How many have you gotten?
What do you mean, so far?
Yeah.
3. This is number 4 I'm working on. This one doesn't really have a fish smell like the first 3 did, or maybe my nose is just used to it. Can you smell any fish smell with that one, Lain?
No.
Did you smell fish smell in the first ones?
No.
No? Just me? Alright, that side's free. I'll come back and get the other side. There we go. No problem there. And moving on to these ones. See if we can get the soldering braid in there a little tight. It's holding on for dear life. This side looks pretty good though. Let's clean this side off.
There, Dad. Look.
Are those capacitors?
Here's the flow in here, and here's the flow going now.
The flow of solder?
Yeah. See? Which one? And then here's over here about information over here. And then here's some more information, and then here's even more over here.
Gotcha.
So what are you working on now?
I'm working on removing this capacitor, which is not going very well.
So that's number 4.
This side is not melting at all.
So that's number 4?
This will be number 4 if it comes off, yeah. Alright, I think we actually did get that side. Alright, that one's off.
Now we're on number 5?
Oh, that one's got the fish smell. Number 6.
You're on number 6?
This one's being a little tricky. I think we're melting the plastic and not the solder. Looks like the leg might still be soldered, but the plastic came off. There you go, we got it. That's number 6.
Which one was the hardest?
I would say number 4.
Okay.
So that's...
So number 4 is the only one that has no.
Right, so now we're going to use some isopropyl alcohol and clean these up.
Here's your information on the back of the side too.
Oh, you got the stats for how they came off?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Where's
awesome.
the other things? I think I want them.
What other things?
The other computer video things. The other pictures.
Oh, they're on top of the... Over there. They're under the metal thing. Just lift it up and take them out and then put it back.
I think I want to grab it.
You're gonna grab them? Alright. Alright, now I'm gonna clean up the areas where we desoldered things. So we can see any problems here. It looks like there might be a bad trace under C18.
Daddy, I'll always have these if you need them.
Okay. Alright, C7 looks
yeah,
okay.
that one smells. I can smell it.
You smell the fish on that one?
Yeah.
That's very common for these ones. C21 looks okay.
Yeah, it smells gross.
Yeah. Alright, I'll go back to these two. C35 and C34, they both look okay. So I think C18 might be the only one where there's an issue.
What?
It looks like that pad might have actually come up. Let me clean it up a little more and take a look.
Why do you use alcohol to clean it up?
Because alcohol is a good solvent for getting rid of flux and gunk and burn stuff. See the traces here around this one are just, I think, dusty. I don't think they're oxidized or corroded. Let's give them a little quick clean. But yeah, it looks like there is a problem with C18. I see something funky going on. So we'll get out the multimeter. Here, you want to help me with this part?
I just turned it on.
Oh, good.
So I could play with it.
All right, here. You hold this black one right in this little hole here. As I get it in. Let me see. Hold it right there. You got it?
Yeah.
All right. So that pad is there. I think we can solder to that still. It just looks a little sketchy, but I think it's going to be okay. And it's unfortunately the positive side. If it's the negative side, the pad lifts. Well, don't drag that across the board. It might damage something. Well, you can keep playing with it, just don't drag it across stuff. If the negatives are bad, they're usually you're really easily able to loop those together. Because negatives are typically common. Again, you want to check to make sure, but if it's the positive side, then it does need to be its own connection. All right, well, let's see if we can't get this one on there. Luckily, these boards are labeled. So we've got our little cheat sheet here. This talks about how to read capacitors, which side's negative, which side's positive, for both electrolytic and the tantalums.
Good night, Daddy.
You gonna go to bed?
Yeah.
Okay, good night, Lain. I love you.
Good night, everybody.
Alright, well, I'm gonna go.
As always, my name is Lain, and I will see you next time.
That's excellent. No.
Like he always says.
Yeah. So anyway, with the cheat sheet, we can see that electrolytics, the polarity band is positive. So that's the side we want to get on this weird pad here, which doesn't look quite right, but I'm going to go ahead and tin that just to make sure that we get a good connection. Some flux might help with that. I might actually put a wire down too, just to be sure. I'm not really sure. Good night, Lain.
I love you.
Love you too, Lain.
Mom's Thanksgiving, and then I'll give you your turkey when we're at Brown.
Oh, okay. That sounds good. Alright, we got that tinned. So like I said, I think I am going to put a wire there just to ensure a good connection. Certainly won't hurt anything. So we'll tin the wire as well. So we can get this to just adhere. There we go. And we will snip the excess off. Looks good to me. Let's bend it just a little more. There we go. Alright. So now to get this capacitor on, I'm going to just get a little more flux. Tin the other pad. There we go. Use my tweezers. I've got the polarity correct. The stripe is negative. So grab that and we'll switch hands here to the old switcheroo. And pick up some solder on my iron. And try to solder that to that wire. I think I will solder to the good pad first, that way it won't cause any further harm to the questionable pad. Alright. I can use two hands to get in there with some solder. Do another quick test to see if we can get connectivity between that pad and that via. Looks like maybe not. I think I actually moved the wire when I was soldering, so let me just pick that back up. Oh, yeah, the wire's stuck to there, but not stuck to there. Okay. I got the wire stuck to the capacitor. Off, so then I'll just make another wire quickly. Actually, I think I'm going to scrape off a little more of this pad so that I can, or the trace next to it, so that I can get a better spot to tin. Reveal some of that copper underneath. That's good. This flux. Try and tin the area next to it. There we go. That looks good. Into the wire. Tin the wire a little bit. Get some solder on there. Put some more solder on just to ensure the bond is good. Pretty good to me. Alright, back to that capacitor. We'll do the negative side first, because that's the quote-unquote good side. Alright. And then we'll do the other side. Give that a quick continuity test. Not getting continuity on that. Yeah, there we are. So that looks good. So we can cut off this little snippy snip here. That should be good to go. Alright, we'll move on to the easier ones now. Just tin these all up quickly. Alright, so polarity band is negative. Let's give it a quick tug to see if it's on there good. I think I could use a little more on this side. Probably some additional solder. Do this side. Back to this side. Give it a little wiggle. That's on there nice and good. 2 down, 4 to go. Go over here next. Start with the, oops, I did backwards. Caught it just in time. Start with the positive side first. Good as well. And this one up here. A little wiggle, and that's good. So we got these last two over here. I will tin these up quickly. This one looks tinned enough already. That one could use some, and this one definitely needs some tinning. Right. We got these last two capacitors on then. This is in a little bit of a tricky to reach spot. You can get it in there with these tweezers though. Inside. Be careful of the SCSI port, which I already burned. Melted, whatever. Yeah, it was on there. Touch up. Seems good. And then the last one here. This one's a little more accessible. Be careful of the power port. This is the power for the hard drive. So not the end of the world if we break it. We can always pull off somewhere else, but ideally we don't break it. All right, and that's it. So we got those 6 caps replaced. Only a little bit of trouble with one. Not sure if that was from a leaking capacitor or what exactly happened there, but it seems like it's on solid, so not worried about it. So I think next I'll pull out a monitor and power on this machine. Back with you soon. Alright, so we've got it all back together. So I'll go ahead and give it some power. And we'll see what it does. Plug it in. Turn it on. Good news, we've got chime and the gray screen. And I think these machines are a little slow to get going, so we'll just give it a second here. Alright, we've got the flashing disk. There's no hard drive installed in here, so that's to be expected. So I'll try to boot off my macOS 761 CD. Now this does take a caddy. It's got the old caddy drive. Luckily I have a stack of CD caddies here, so no problem. I have no idea if this drive works. I'll click the disk, that's a good sign. There we go. All right, looks like it's booted up. Let's take a look at about this computer. So we've got 20 megs of RAM in here, 761. So the next thing is we need to put our hard drive in. So what I have is another Blue SCSI kit that I need to assemble and then put into this Mac and then install 761 on. So I think we'll do that in a separate video, so keep an eye out where I put together this Blue SCSI and then test it out in this Mac. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day.